Dumb Husky and his white cat Shizun. Chapter 278. Shi Sheng Peak, never before. In the past few days, whether it was in upper or lower cultivation world, everyone was abuzz with the rumors that the execution ground of the Tianyan Pavilion, which had been established for thousands of years, was robbed for the first time. And the person who rescued the prisoner was the world's #1 grandmaster, Chu Wanning. He killed 11 elites of the Tianyan Pavilion, injured hundreds, and left with Mo Weiyu. Some people said that Chu Wanning had gone mad, while others said that Chu Wanning was the same as Mo Weiyu, a beast in human clothing. There were also some people who were close enough to see the details and said angrily that there was something wrong with the relationship between Chu Wanning and Mo Ran. There was something fishy between them and that it could be something dirty. But no matter what people said, Chu Wanning and Mo Weiyu did not appear in Jianghu again. No one knew where they were. The world's most upright grandmaster took away the world's most dangerous evil spirit. Then they disappeared without a trace. The wooden window was half open and the fine snow was soft. Outside the curtain, there were traces of moss and green, and 4 or 5 flowers fell. 4 days had passed since the incident at the Tianyan Pavilion. The outside world was already in chaos, and there were all kinds of comments. Only in this empty mountain was there some peace. Suddenly, someone came out from the depths of the forest and walked into the painting on the window frame. He was holding a large oil paper umbrella and holding a bundle of firewood. He pushed open the door and entered. It was very cold in the room. He piled the firewood by the fire pit and added a few pieces of wood into the hearth to light up the weak flames. This place had been in disrepair as it has been a long time since someone had last used it. Although it was roughly cleaned up, there was still a musty smell in the air. For this reason, he specially picked a white plum with dew and put it at the head of the bed. Chu Wanning sat down and looked at the man lying on the narrow bed. It was the 4th day and he still had not wake up. After escaping from the Taxian June that day, he used the spells he had learned in his previous life and the spiritual energy he had not used in this life to keep Mo Ran alive. However, after such a long time, Mo Ran was still in a coma. His life was hanging by a thread and his spirit core could no longer be repaired. This house was built by my Shizun for when he was traveling. It's been too long since someone has lived in it, so there's always some smell. Chu Wanning looked at his face intently. I know you don't like incense, but you don't hate flowers. I brought a branch of pear of balsam. It should last for a long time. Mo Ran lay there, his eyelashes drooping. His sleeping appearance was very quiet and peaceful, a rare tranquility in his life. For the past few days, Mo Ran had been sleeping quietly like this. After Chu Wanning was done with his work, he would stay by his side and talk to him. In the past, when the two of them were together, Mo Ran would always talk a lot while he listened from the side. Who would have thought that one day, the speaker and the listener would be reversed? The barriers outside have been reinforced and the concealing spells have been set up. No one will find this place. Chu Wanning said. The firewood and food have also been brought back. There won't be anything else for a while. After a pause, he sighed. Why are you still not waking up? As he spoke, he reached out his hand and touched Mo Ran's hair. The pool of fire swayed. He sat by the bed and waited for a long time. He waited until the shadow on the ground moved with the sunlight, but the person still didn't open his eyes. Chu Wanning closed his eyes and sighed softly. Since you still want to sleep, then sleep. I'll continue the story I told you yesterday. I'm sorry, you said you like to listen to bedtime stories, but I don't know how to tell you anything, so I can only tell you what we went through before. He lowered his eyelashes and was silent for a while, then said gently. Where did I end yesterday? Let me think. Oh right, I talked about how I found out that you were cursed in your previous life, and wanted to help you get rid of it. Chu Wanning said, but the 8 sufferings and everlasting hatred flower had taken root too deeply. No matter what I did, it was useless. In this life, I finally got rid of it, but I didn't expect it to turn out like this. He touched the back of Moran's cold hand. It was always so cold. He held Moran's hand like this as he softly spoke with him. In the past, because of their schemes and personalities, there were many things that they never talked about openly. As a result, due to a combination of factors, they became strangers. Chu Wanning regretted it very much. What would have happened if he had been more honest? Would everything change? Would he have found out that Moran was poisoned earlier? Would he have been able to turn back? You've been reborn and you've always wanted to atone for your sins. Chu Wanning closed his eyes and sighed. In the end, his voice froze and he could barely speak. But do you still remember how you were poisoned with the 8 sufferings and everlasting hatred flower? Think about it. Moran, think about it. You never owed me. From the beginning, it was I who owed you. I beg you, wake up. If you can wake up, if you can recall those lost memories, you will know, the truth of all this started 7 years ago, on that rainy night when I was in seclusion. That was the moment when his and Moran's fate changed. It was a day in his life that he had not paid much attention to. That day, rain and wind was assaulting the Red Lotus Pavilion. The rainwater flowed rapidly from the roof tiles and thunder roared and lightning flashed, but he couldn't hear it. Chu Wanning's spirit core was weak. That year, it was time for it to be repaired by going into seclusion to meditate. In order to let the disciples by his side feel at ease, he cast the sound-concealing spell on himself before he went into seclusion. Then, he sat cross-legged in the pavilion and his divine sense entered the great void. Due to that, he couldn't see the tense situation in front of him. That day, in the midst of the thunderstorm, in the Red Lotus Pavilion, Moran and Shimei stared at each other. Moran's face was pale while Shimei's expression was sinister. A truth that Chu Wanning didn't know before slowly unfolded in the rain that night. During that seclusion, Moran, who had just entered the sect, felt wronged because of the flower-picking incident. He said that he couldn't serve his Shizun well and didn't want to accompany him in his seclusion. But how could a young man's words be taken seriously? After 2 nights, Moran still remembered to hold gratitude over grudges. He suppressed the bitterness in his heart and went to the Red Lotus Pavilion alone, wanting to replace Shimei. But he didn't expect that because of this strange combination of circumstances, he would encounter a plot that would change his life completely. Shimei was using the curse flower on Chu Wanning. Bewilderment, shock, fear, anger, disappointment. In an instant, his internal organs were burned through. He rushed forward and snatched the sharp blade from Shimei's hand. He shouted like a wild beast, "What are you doing?" Shi Mingjing was only surprised for a moment and then his pair of gentle and beautiful peach blossom eyes squinted. He smiled, "I was wondering who it was. Now that the Red Lotus Pavilion has so many barriers, only us 3 disciples and the sect leader can enter. Be it the young master or the sect leader, it will be troublesome if anyone comes. Fortunately, it's you." Moran had anxiously run over. He panted, his thin body blocking in front of Chu Wanning. The night wind blew his clothes and hair. He stared at Shimei's face. "Why are you taking advantage of Master's seclusion? You. At that time, Moran couldn't believe that the gentle Mingjing Shikshan had a second fiendish face. "Who the hell are you?" Shimei laughed, "Moran is so cute, of course I'm your Mingjing Shikshan. Who else could I be?" He looked at the way Moran protected Chu Wanning. A new disciple, so insignificant and overestimating himself. It was like a lame joke. "Didn't you say that you hate Shizun and don't want to see him again?" Because Shimei had a card up his sleeve, he teased him and mocked him. "When I gave you the wontons, you said that you hated Shizun, this vicious and merciless person. Why did you change your mind in just 2 days and went to him again? If I didn't go to him, who knows what you would have done today?" Mo Ran was both resentful and sad. Shi Mingjing, to think that I thought you were good at that time. To think that I believed you. Aya, you yourself is so easy to fool. Who are you blaming? Shi Mei laughed, a bowl of wontons and a few gentle words were enough to trick you. In fact, you're just a dog that no one wants. You'll follow whoever gives you a bone. Why are you staring at me like that? How was it? Was the wonton delicious? Mo Ran's teeth were cold. His black eyes were wet and cold in the night. After a while, his Adam's apple moved. Shi Mingjing, your heart is actually this black. Shi Mei was still smiling as he said, a black heart is a heart that's been poisoned by a curse, a heart that's sick. My heart isn't sick or hurt, so it's naturally red like you and Shizun right now. He paused for a moment. His delicate white fingers twirled, and an extremely beautiful flower appeared at the tip of his finger. The flower was still budding, but it hadn't opened yet. The edges of the black petals flashed with silver light. Shi Mei held the flower and sniffed it. Flowers and beauties like danger lurked everywhere. It made one shudder. Mo Ran muttered, what exactly are you going to do? Shi Mei raised his eyes. His long eyelashes and his peach blossom eyes were rippling and smiling. He seemed to be in a good mood. Actually, it's useless to explain it to you. I just need to cast a spell and you'll soon forget everything that happened tonight. You won't remember anything at all. The black flower pressed down on his watery fingers. However, seeing that we're from the same sect, it's not like I can't tell you. Shi Mei said, this is a flower bud that my mother gave birth to. It's the 8 sufferings and everlasting hatred flower that I painstakingly cultivated. If no one appreciates it, it will disappear from the world. I feel that it's lacking some flavor. 8 sufferings. Everlasting regret. Shidi, there are 8 sufferings in life and also everlasting regret in death. In this world, there's a type of flower left behind by the demon race. It's extremely difficult for mortals to cultivate and it's called the 8 sufferings and everlasting hatred flower. Shi Mei's voice was gentle, this kind of flower needs to drink human blood when it's young. After it blooms, it needs to take root in a person's heart, absorbing kindness and warmth, and nurturing evil and hatred. As he spoke, he intimately stroked the black petals. In this world, no matter how good a person is, as long as there's some trace of grudges in his heart, the 8 sufferings and everlasting hatred flower will nurture it. Gradually, he will become a demon who kills without batting an eyelid. A faint light flashed in his eyes like the scales of a snake. His peach blossom eyes turned and stared at Chu Wanning, who was meditating. Mo Ran trembled in fear. Do you want to plant the 8 sufferings and everlasting hatred flower in Shizun's heart? Why are you so surprised? Shi Mei smiled, he's the world's #1 great grandmaster. Tell me, if he becomes a demon, how powerful will he be? Are you crazy? How can you bear to? He's cold-blooded, didn't you say so? Shi Mei said indifferently, I'll turn him into the person you hate the most. Shidi, from now on you can justifiably hate him. Wouldn't that be perfect? Mo Ran's scalp felt like it was going to explode. His spine felt numb from this verbal attack. You. Ridiculous. Those were my words in a moment of anger. I don't hate him. Hurry up and put it down. Don't harm him like this. Shi Mei was interested. Why? Why? He was so good. The table in the Red Lotus Pavilion was filled with blueprints drawn by him. Whether it was the golem or the weapons, he never did it for himself. He was always worried about the safety of others. He was pure and clean, like the first snowfall in the early winter sky. Although he was very strict and sometimes unkind, he would hold his hand over and over again and teach him how to read and write. He would accompany him to train, from day to night. He was willing to accept him. Since he did, Mo Wei was no longer alone. Before, he only had a fake family and happiness. Since then, he had an identity. Chu Wanning's disciple. You can't harm him. Mo Ran said anxiously. He wanted to wake up his Shizun, but he didn't know what to do. He could only stubbornly stand in front of Chu Wanning. He can't become an evil spirit. He's so good. If you make him kill, he'll be sad. He didn't know how to express the intense grief and anger in his heart. He could only use the simplest and even mostly incoherent words to persuade him. It was as if he hadn't learned any spells in time and could only use his thin and weak body to resist. Making a good person kill was an extremely painful thing. He had already felt it deeply in his bones during the fire in Jade Wine House. She Mei looked at him, only to find it indescribably funny. Sad? When the time comes and he becomes that kind of person, he won't be sad. Mo Ran, you don't have to worry about this. But why do you have to do this? Why do you have to hurt him? Shi Mei didn't answer immediately this time. He lowered his eyelashes, paused for a moment and then said indifferently, because I also have something I have to do. I need the strongest power for me to use. Shi Mei pursed his lips. You won't understand. The young Mo Ran was almost using his pitiful strength to persuade this enigmatic Shikshan in front of him. You should know what kind of person Shizun is. Even if you treat him like this and grind away all the kindness in his heart, turning him into a murderous demon, he won't only listen to you and be used by you. You can't do it? How do you know I can't do it? Shi Mei chuckled. Oh, I forgot to tell you. In this 8 sufferings and everlasting hatred flower, I merged half of my soul. As long as the flower blooms in his heart, he'll slowly fall in love with me. For the rest of his life, he won't be able to undo it. Mo Ran was terrified. You're crazy. Shi Mei slowly closed in on them. The curtain of night was polished by thunder and lightning, and the rumbling sound of thunder echoed, illuminating Shi Mei's devastatingly beautiful face. Like you said, he's so good. Why can't he be mine and be of use to me? So, what if he becomes a demon? When the time comes, he'll be so infatuated with me and will only listen to me. Wouldn't that be wonderful? He knew that Chu Wanning wouldn't wake up at this moment and wouldn't hear the conversation between the two of them. Therefore, he wasn't afraid at all. He said calmly, Shidi, move to the side. Do you think that someone who has just started to cultivate a spiritual core like you can fight against me? Mo Ran was practically gnashing his teeth. I won't move. Shi Mei only smiled. Then, in the blink of an eye, he had already swept behind Mo Ran like a ghost. His hand was already hovering in the air above Chu Wanning's crown, holding the black flower that was about to bloom. Mo Ran, do you know how much effort I put into cultivating this 8 sufferings and everlasting hatred flower? I painstakingly waited for the day Shizun went into seclusion. He lowered his body, his cheek almost touching Chu Wanning's side profile. He's about to become my blade, my puppet, and my man. What can you do to stop me? The flower fell. His fate was about to change. Suddenly, he heard the youth's stern voice and tried to stop him. Don't touch him. You're really funny. Shi Mei gradually lost his patience. Do you know? Let me do it. The rest of his words were cut off between his lips. A clap of thunder broke through the sky as lightning tore through the curtain of night. Shi Mei narrowed his eyes and asked, What? Mo Ran's entire body was trembling. He had only been in the sect for a short time, and the number of spells he had learned was pitifully small. He was destined to not be able to stop Shi Mei, and he didn't know how to wake Chu Wanning up. He was unarmed, and he had no expertise. All he had was his flesh and blood. So, he could only say, Let me do it. Shi Mei was silent for a while, and then he sneered, Do you know what you're saying? I know. 8 sufferings and everlasting hatred flower is the result of my mother's painstaking efforts, and I used my soul to nurture it. Shimei straightened up and stared at Mo Ran's face. Who do you think you are? Do you think you're worthy? His fingers clenched into fists. After a while, he suddenly raised his head. I may not be worthy, but I'm much more suitable than Shizun. Shimei's eyes flickered a little. What do you mean? You said this flower will stimulate hatred in a person's heart, but what if that person's heart is totally clean and doesn't harbor the slightest bit of resentment? Shimei was silent for a while, and then he laughed. That's impossible. Everyone has hatred in their heart, and even the Baidu Immortal is no exception. However, his hand was stroking the petals of the 8 sufferings and everlasting hatred flower, and a sense of irritation gradually grew in his heart. Mo Ran was right. In fact, he had been thinking about whether Chu Wanning could become the breeding ground for the 8 sufferings and everlasting hatred flower. What if this person did not harbor the slightest bit of resentment in his heart? It would take a lot of time and effort to cultivate another flower. Furthermore, it was too painful to split one's soul, and he did not want to experience it a second time. Mo Ran saw that he was hesitating, so he stepped forward. After so many years, have you ever seen Shizun hate anyone? You said that the 8 sufferings and everlasting hatred flower will devour the kindness and warmth in one's heart. These things may not be everything to ordinary people, but you should understand Shizun better than I do. The rain was getting heavier as the trees swayed bleakly. Shiming Jing, aren't you afraid that he will gradually lose all his memories, and forget all the good things? Aren't you afraid that someone will find out? Shimei suddenly narrowed his eyes. His eyes were dark, as if a snake was flicking its tongue. Mo Ran walked closer to him step by step. His heart was beating like a drum, louder than the rain. I don't know what you want to do, but if you want to sacrifice someone, let it be me. You. I have hatred in my heart and it can grow. I don't have too many pure and good memories. Even if I gradually lose them, it won't be easy for others to find out. Mo Ran was trying his best to persuade the executioner to put the blade to his neck. I can't do anything now, but Shizun and uncle said that I have a high innate talent and sufficient spiritual power. I can do it. He trembled slightly and his nails dug into his palms, but he still insisted on speaking. I can replace him and become the sharp blade and weapon you want. I can replace him and become the murderous demon you want to create. Shimei. He finally stood in front of Shiming Jing. Lightning flashed and a sudden gust of wind blew, causing the rain to sway sideways into the pavilion. Waves of coldness came one after another. Let me do it. Maybe it was because he hit the nail on the head, or maybe it was because Shimei wasn't sure whether Chu Wanning could make the 8 sufferings and everlasting hatred flower take effect, or maybe it was because Mo Ran's spiritual power back then was really unprecedented. The time it took him to form his spiritual core was even faster than the darling of the heaven, Xuemeng. It was so fast that it made people jealous. In any case, after Shimei weighed the pros and cons, in the end, it was the black bud that was about to bloom that finally entered Mo Ran's heart. After doing all this, Shimei sat next to the stone table, supporting his head with his hands, his eyes slightly lost in thought. He didn't understand why. Why did Mo Ran block Chu Wanning from this fatal blow? Putting his life, soul, future, and dignity on the line. Their master and disciple relationship had been going on for less than a year only. He didn't understand. Shimei watched as the black stamen entered Mo Ran's chest. It was such a soft petal, but it was like a steel needle that could penetrate a person's flesh, piercing deep into the heart. During this process, Mo Ran endured and didn't make a sound. The flower's stamen was like some kind of soul-devouring insect with strange tentacles. When the fierce seed drilled into his heart, only then did Mo Ran finally whimpered and knelt on the ground. The youth trembled in front of him and Shimei just sat there quietly. His jade arms were shining as he watched Mo Ran spasm and vomit blood in front of him. Is it very painful? Cough cough. Shi Mei was interested, but his eyes were still gentle. How painful. I've never used this kind of curse on anyone before. I'm really curious, my good Shidi, what does it feel like to have the 8 sufferings and everlasting hatred flower pierce through your heart? His eyes were like spring water, flowing through Moran's body section by section until it finally fell on Moran's pale knuckles. Moran's fingers unconsciously dug into the ground. The tips of his fingers were scraped and there were streaks of blood. Is it more painful than having your heart dug out? Moran didn't answer him. The pain was immense, but it was much better than the pain in the mass grave outside Linyi City that year. It was much better than watching his loved one die in front of him. It was much better than digging up the sand and burying his own flesh and blood. Back then, I couldn't protect my mother. Now, I can finally protect my Shizun. He murmured as his eyes were unfocused. Those best memories were fading little by little as the innocent and tender past slowly disappeared. Those pitifully few beautiful memories flashed in front of his eyes. A bowl of hot soup that someone gave to him and his mother as alms. An old farmer was willing to invite them into the house on a snowy night to warm up and rest by the fire. A child who was also begging for food shared half of a meat pie with him. Duan Yuhan held his hand and led him across the long autumn embankment where dragonflies fluttered. There was no hatred, no bitterness, no unwillingness, no nervousness, no hostility. Everything was peaceful. It was the purest of beauty. He saw himself carefully embroidering hatang handkerchiefs under the lanterns. He saw himself sitting at the stone table with his chin resting on his hands, smiling as he watched his Shizun eat mooncakes. He saw himself drinking under the moon and bringing pear white wine to his Shizun for the first time. These memories were going to fade away from his mind. He wouldn't remember them anymore. From now on, hatred would multiply and the gentle memories of the past would change. From now on, the passion in his heart would be extinguished and there would be no more fire. The spring water in his eyes would freeze, condensing into ice. From now on, he would go against his mother's last words. Duan Yuhan said, repay kindness, don't hold grudges. He wouldn't be able to follow that anymore. He didn't know where the strength came from, but he gritted his teeth and endured the tearing pain in his organs. He tried to stand up shakily, he staggered, but he couldn't stand. He knelt and crawled. In the end, he was in so much pain that his soul was trembling, but he still crawled towards Chu Wanning. Shizun. He shivered and struggled in a ridiculous way, wriggling as moved. Shi Mei thought he wanted to try something, but in the end he found that the boy was just doing his best, using the last of his passion and gratitude to kowtow. Tears flowed out. Shizun, I will soon disappoint you. The night rain continued to fall. Very soon, I won't remember your kindness. I won't be able to properly learn spell from you anymore. You'll hate me, hate me. He was crying, recounting the last words he said before he lost his conscience. But Chu Wanning couldn't hear him. He was right in front of him, but he couldn't hear anything. I'm sorry, I plucked the flower that day because I wanted to give it to you. Shizun, I came here today because I wanted to apologize to you when you woke up and tell you everything in my heart. His voice was so hoarse that it seemed to be gouged out from his throat and flesh. Shizun, thank you for not despising me and being willing to accept me. I'm really. His heart suddenly tightened, and his eyes were filled with blood. That was the sign that the 8 sufferings and everlasting hatred flower was beginning to take root, and also the sign that the love spell was beginning to take effect. His forehead hit the ground heavily, crushing the ground. He was sobbing. I really like you very much. Shi Mei sighed softly. His expression seemed to be amused but also seemed to be sympathetic. However, whether it was pity or amusement, they were all faint. Nothing could enter his heart. He finally walked over and held Moran's cheek. He stared at Moran's gradually blurring eyes and asked softly, Come Shidi, Tell me, what do you want now? What I want? What did I want? Linyi in autumn, in front of Golden Drum Pagoda. Duan Yuhan was smiling. Chu Wanning was looking down. Sister Sun Fengruo of the music house revealed two sharp canine teeth. Her eyes flashed with a fervent and excited luster. She said to him, Mo Ran, I'll soon earn enough money to redeem myself. I'll take you with me. Let's leave this place. Sister will take you to live a good life. Mo Ran was in a daze, but he still tried his best to capture these scattered memories. He murmured, I want to repay kindness, not to hold grudges. Shi Mei shook his head and waited for a moment. He asked again, what do you want? Mo Ran said hoarsely and persistently, I want to die by Shizun's hands one day. Shi Mei was stunned for a moment, then laughed, die by Shizun's hands. I don't want to be a devil. I don't want to go to hell. He muttered incoherently, I don't want to only remember hatred, Shizun. He actually broke free from Shi Mei's hand and knelt in front of Chu Wanning, almost howling. His eyes were already bloodshot, his consciousness was becoming more and more chaotic. Kill me. In the end, the only thing that repeated was this one wish. On the first day I start doing evil deeds. I beg you, to kill me. The torrential rain poured down, swallowing up the boundless night. The youth cried hoarsely like a trapped beast. Thunder roared and lightning flashed. The bamboo forest was bleak. All of the lotuses in the Red Lotus Pavilion fell and sank into the pond. There were 8 sufferings in life and endless hatred in death. Before he lost consciousness, Mo Ran stretched out a trembling hand and grabbed Chu Wanning's sleeve. He raised his head and murmured, Shizun, you care about me, please pay attention to me, okay? Care about me. How many hardships and regrets in this world were covered by the turbulent wind and rain? After 2 lifetimes, Chu Wanning, who finally knew the truth, looked back on the past. He vaguely remembered that on the second day, he finished a cycle and woke up from his meditation. The golden light sprinkled into the bamboo pavilion. The haitang and the red lotuses in the pavilion were about to wither. The former fragrance on the branches was quickly crushed into dust. The rain had already stopped. Chu Wanning blinked and turned his head to see Shi Mei standing by the stone table brewing tea. Steam rose in spirals. Shi Mei's brows were so gentle and elegant. Seeing that he had woken up, Shi Mei smiled. Shizun. Why aren't you resting? You've been attending me for 3 days already. Go and let Mo Ran take your place. The tea was poured. The amber hot water seemed to be full of worries. Shi Mei served him the tea and smiled. Today, I'll attend to Shizun as well. Mo Ran is still a child. After being punished by Shizun, he still can't get over it. Chu Wanning was stunned. He's not coming. Shi Mei lowered his eyes. His thick, black, and soft eyelashes fluttered down like 2 clusters of young stamens on a branch in early spring. He said, he's not coming. He's going to the library to help the sect leader organize the books. Chu Wanning was absent-minded and disappointed for a moment. He had planned to use the opportunity when they were alone to talk to Mo Ran about the plucking of that flower. That day, he had been too harsh. He had never met a disciple who broke much rules. After thinking about it, he also felt that the punishment was too harsh. But Mo Ran did not even want to see him. He was not willing to accompany him in his seclusion. Chu Wanning closed his eyes. Shizun, here's your tea. After a long time, he responded. He took the cup full of fragrant tea from Shi Mei's slender, fair hand. He blew away the wisps of steam and took a sip. The teacup was too full. When he took the cup, a few drops spilled on his robe. Shi Mei was very attentive. When he saw it, he smiled. I have a handkerchief. I don't need to borrow yours. Chu Wanning took out a white handkerchief embroidered with haitang. He lowered his head and wiped away the tea stains. What a beautiful handkerchief. It looks like the best one bought in town. Shimei said gently. Did Shizun buy it himself? For a moment, Chu Wanning wanted to say, no, it was Mo Ran who gave it to me. He embroidered it? It was a gift for me. But he was in a bad mood and did not want to say it. He also felt that his words were inexplicably shameful. Therefore, after a moment of silence, Chu Wanning only gave a muffled hum. Then he folded the handkerchief and put it back into his robe. After putting away the handkerchief, he sighed softly. That day, the sun was shining brightly. Last night's wind and rain only left behind the withered flowers and fresh dew on the lotus leaves. Was the rain very heavy last night? Shimei was tending to the tea set. When he heard this, his fingertips froze. His eyes were deep. Chu Wanning looked at the flowering tree and said lightly, the flowers have all withered. Shimei smiled again. He carefully arranged the teacups and then said lightly, there was a thunderstorm last night. It was noisy for a while and then it stopped. Today will be a good day. When the ground dries a bit, I will go to the courtyard and sweep away all the fallen flowers. Chu Wanning did not speak again. The sky was bright like a brocade. Looking into the distance, the sky was clear. When the sun rose from the east, golden feathers fluttered in the air. Indeed, it was a rare sunny day. End chapter.